Okay, we're live. Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new podcast. I don't know what we're going to call it yet, but I think we're going to call it Education for now. And the idea here, let me first introduce Darren. Darren is another teacher. He's in the Great White North, and we'll go from there. So,
Yeah.
Darren, you want to say hi first?
All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. My name is Darren Young. I am a computer science teacher, high school teacher in Vancouver, BC, or more specifically, Surrey, British Columbia. Been teaching for almost 12, 13 years now.
So, and
So,
I was going to say, we all know I'm a high school teacher in central New Jersey. Same thing, computer science. I've been teaching for about 10 years now. And I guess the idea behind this is I hear a lot about EdChat and how to better motivate students, how to do this. And I figure, you know what? I haven't found, or I haven't looked that hard for a weekly podcast on this. And we like to bring the own 30-minute type show to it. So I figured, why not start one? Darren's been very vocal on Twitter and Google Plus, mainly on Google Plus, like me.
yeah.
And we met there, and we said, you know what? He has a lot of great ideas. I would like to think that I have a lot of great ideas, and we figured, why not talk about them?
Yeah.
So the first topic today I wanted to talk about is BYOD. It's a buzzword that's been flying around. Every single administrator, every single teacher has been using it, but I don't think people understand what it means. The tech people think, Darren, I know what it means, and I think the other teachers, the other administrators, the other parents just think it's a way to finally skirt the rules and allow cell phones in school. So, I mean, I think we could talk half an hour about what BYOD means and why it's a good thing, why it's not this idea of, oh, now we're just allowing kids to have cell phones in school. So, Darren, I think your district is actually fully integrated BYOD, and it seems like it's working.
Yeah. I mean, it's still up to the individual classroom teacher, at least at my school anyways, to decide how they want to allow students to use technology in the classroom. But the infrastructure, the supporting structure and access to the internet is what my district has spent quite a bit of money in the past 5, 7 years implementing. Like, for example, where I teach in the Surrey Public School District, one of their goals when they decided to set up the wireless network is they implemented and planned the network infrastructure to support at minimum 2 devices per user. My school isn't one of the biggest high schools in Surrey. We only have about 1,200 students in our school, but that gives you kind of the idea of the network infrastructure. And they didn't. When they upgraded the infrastructure, they had to upgrade all of our switches from basically 100 megabit to 1 gigabit network switches. They made sure that there was enough wireless access points that were around the school, around our campus, to ensure that there was enough support for about 2,000-ish or so devices. I mean, we're talking, this is back just when the iPhone first started to come out, where there were going to be laptops and mobile devices. And that's quite forward thinking, I think, of my district to actually implement it. This is at the district level, not at the school level. And these are all the schools have been eventually have this infrastructure in place, at least the high school level anyways. I know that that's what they had planned for the high schools, I should say.
Well, I mean, I think that's very progressive and forward-thinking. I remember where I was when the iPhone came out, and a lot of schools just wrapped up huge purchases of computers. This was their going just computer phase. They wanted everyone to start typing lab reports and English papers and everything else. So that time in whatever 2009, 2010 was, we're just going to stay put. And it seems like, at least we're in New Jersey, all the tech budgets were being slashed. They needed money, so they slashed the tech budget. So at least in New Jersey, only now are we starting to see, the last year and a half, all these schools saying, why aren't we why do the kids at home have better technology than the school does, and how can we implement it? Because the parents are asking for it, colleges are asking for it, jobs are asking for it, and here we are sitting here twiddling our thumbs saying we can't afford it.
Yeah.
And so then what happened is the iPads came out, and everyone jumped on the iPad bandwagon. So I want to ask you, did your school go iPad or no?
Our district did go iPad. It's definitely a huge burden to support, in the sense that it's good when it's an individual device, hence the name iPad. But when you have one person or a team of people trying to support a class set of 30, or in my case, how many do we have in our school? 3 sets, yeah, over 100 different iPads. It can be burdensome, especially when there's an OS update. But I find that a lot of the teachers that do use the iPads, they do a lot of it for research, because it's a lot better than a lot quicker and easier to get up and running in terms of getting them online, and students actually finding useful information, compared to how our district is set up school laptops. All students at in my district, they have a login. But the problem with having a login on a Windows machine is it just takes forever. And we, as teachers, you can't waste. Time is precious, and if it's going to take like 5 minutes for the machine to finally boot up to a login prompt, and then another 3 minutes to get logged in, and then another 2 minutes to get a browser up and running, that's too much time in the class wasted just to get online. Whereas the iPad, you just sort of press the button, unlock it, and for the most part, you're ready to roll.
Well, what I've noticed is, so again, a lot of districts seem to jump on the iPad bandwagon, saying, oh, this is portable, and this, and that, and the other thing. And I think they didn't look at an actual use case. It felt like suits in the back office were saying iPads are great because of a case study where one classroom in a very small district seemed to get it working. But I think exactly what you're saying, the teacher has to sign out the iPad card, which is fine, then bring it to the classroom, again, fine, and then they open it up, and who knows if it's working today?
Yeah.
That was always the problem. And then you go on Safari, and oh, the person before didn't log off, or the image went wrong. I mean, all these stupid things that say, why does it happen? It actually does happen. Yeah. And then you're on Safari, and then you can't send stuff out because you're not logged in. It's just the default login. So you end up. It becomes this device to play with for 45 minutes instead of actually do work with. Yeah. And our district and a lot of districts made the mistake, but I think we didn't go full iPad. We tested it out slowly, and it was working, and they are finding some use for it, and I think that's where it's going to end up being. What's the specific use, and how can we keep it going? I mean, because if you want to present something, if you want to hook it up to an Apple TV and present your slides or whatever it is, that's a great use for it. I mean, different things. So, and then the next thing you said is, I know this, but then the district decided to go Chromebook. Mm-hmm. And our district is going Chromebook. They're not integrated yet. And your district is completely Chromebook. And I've been asking you.
Well, my district isn't Chromebook. I personally use a Chromebook. I'm using the Chromebook to do the Hangout right now. There are other schools in my province and in my city that are working with Chromebooks. I'm actually working with a group of BC educators, and we sort of implemented a Chromebook project where classes can borrow, or different schools or different teachers can borrow from us a class set of Chromebooks and try it and implement it. Where things get kind of a little sticky for us in BC with Chromebooks is this whole axis of what we call FOIPA, better known as Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, where because Google is an American company and information is held in the States, and because of Canadian laws trying to protect us Canadians, at least BC laws, it gets kind of gray, especially when a public school has personal quote unquote information like the student's name. And that information is held in the States. That's kind of some of the gray areas that we're in education technology in BC that we're trying to tread carefully on and make sure that we're both compliant with our own Canadian and BC laws, yet allow students to use actual real tools that are used out there in the real world.
You're bringing a whole other topic, which I've been
Yeah.
fighting for years now, where the teachers say, oh, I want to use this service or I want to use this service, and I say, you have to be very careful because of the information you're posting there. And while you don't think of it as important or whatever it is, you could be breaking some rule, not that you're really going to get in trouble for it, but if you're going to use a service that the school district didn't approve of, be ready to not get in trouble. I mean, everyone wants Prezi, for example.
Yeah.
Prezi was, oh, this great way to show slides. Oh, but the school district blocked it. Oh, so and basically the school district said, sorry, we don't agree with Prezi for whatever reason, and now you're out of you're out of luck for the next week while you argue that you need the website.
Yeah.
And I tell people that all the time. You have to be careful in the services you use because who knows? But again, that's a topic that Tom and I on the security channel have been fighting with the online, what information schools have to store, what information are you required to keep, and everything else.
Yeah.
And now being from the States, we don't have that problem. The problem is now is that people don't want school. At least a lot of school districts don't want Google having that information because they don't understand what Google does with it or how to get it out. Yeah. They want their hands on everything, and I keep on saying Google is compelled by federal law. They made this specific. Look at the district's Going Chromebook and look how forthcoming Google says. Look, especially on the Chromebook for education side, we're here. We will give you that information. You just have to tell us why you need it. It can't be a witch hunt.
Yeah.
And we go from there. But I mean, a lot of teachers, I want to stay on this bring your own device. So whatever device it is, what's the goal? I mean, why are we all doing this other than to allow cell phones in school, which we're not, but that's what it sounds like.
If anything, it's to ultimately engage the student. Like, I'll give you an example of one of my colleagues who teaches a math class. One way, and the math class that she teaches is in BC terms, in terms of our course curriculum, is called Math 10 A and W, which is the apprentice and workplace mathematics. So these are the students that aren't going on to college and university. These are the ones that when they graduate out of high school, they're most likely going to go into a trade school of some sort, or so these aren't the super duper academic types. She's fortunate enough to be able to. She's using my lab just because there's no other classroom for her to use. And one way that she engages the students is she allows them to and interacts with them in using a tool called Socrative, where she can quickly put up questions about measurement or area or whatever unit that she's working on, and use that as a way to assess how the students are doing at this time. Right? So it's kind of like, she uses it like, for example, as her exit slip. So rather than giving each kid a piece of paper for them to answer a question about calculating the area of a triangle, she just puts up this question, and then she says, okay, go to the site. They can go onto it on the computer if they want to. They can use their iPod, they can use their tablet, they can use their phone. They have, the infrastructure is there ready for them to use, but they're able to answer the question as best they can, and right away that information gets collated for her automatically by the Socrates system, and she can see it right away. So that's one way that she uses devices. It doesn't matter what kind of device, whether it's a school device or a student-owned device, but it's a really easy way for her to get feedback from her students and how they're learning and their understanding of the topic that they've been studying.
Well, and I've been trying to show people that it's not I use I don't use Socrative, but I've shown teachers how to use it. We've used Poll Anywhere. We've in Google Forms. All these ideas are hitting on the same thing. And or the thing that I use it for is we have a service called Moodle, which is just a content management system, a repository for your files. And I put every worksheet, every ditto, every PowerPoint, every homework assignment on there. Yeah. And it's great when you say, "Oh, I don't have the worksheet." Well, it's online. Go get it. Mm-hmm. Or I need a second set of notes for special needs students or regular students who need more. They couldn't take notes or were absent. It's there. It's not to replace you. A lot of teachers think that it's there to replace. It's there to aid, and that's the whole goal. The goal is to aid. We're not saying that you need to have your phones out at all times, texting away or whatever it is. It's there to get maybe individual engagement. So before the cell phones, we had the little whiteboards. I forgot what they were called. It was you put the little piece of paper inside the transparency, and you wrote your answer, and you held it up. Oh yeah. And that worked for a little bit. But again, you had to pass them out, everything else. Hey, students, take out your phone, take out your tablet, take out whatever you have, and you have it from there. Why are we telling the kids let them type out their notes if they want? What I was going to do before I got into a computer lab is give a student an iPad and say, here's a stylus, here's an iPad. Please, can you write down my notes for me, and then I'm going to put them online, and then everyone who wants it has it. Yeah. And give them whatever, an extra credit point or whatever it is, some sort of incentive, and then rotate that around. So every day another student has to deal with taking notes, and you go from there. It's not supposed to take over the class. It's just supposed to help it. And the problem that's coming up, and I think that's why we're doing this, is to give these ideas to teachers so we can influence I guess the method of instruction to better help the students learn, or to help them figure out what they don't know, or just to provide feedback.
Yeah, I mean it's you can't think of these tools as a way to replace how things have been done in the traditional way. It's not going to work. These digital tools, they're brand new. They have to be used and thought of differently. I'll give you another example. Of another teacher that I know of. He is an active Twitter user, and what he does in his classroom is there is one student, and it rotates each day or whatever, and the role of this student is to literally tweet out what's going on in the lesson. So they take over a particular classroom account, and as the lesson is going on, as people as the teacher is passing on information and sharing information, as classmates are commenting on things or asking questions or answering or whatever, this person is busy tweeting out what's going on in the classroom. And what that provides for the class is an archive of what's going on. It's a way to capture what's going on, as well as it provides an opportunity for the outside world to respond and to reply back and interact with what's going on in this classroom. It is a little scary to make yourself public in that sense, but there's so much opportunity there for students to see what's going on out there, rather than what's just sort of stuck in the four walls of the school.
And that was another topic that a lot of people got mad at me for. So where I am, we're unionized, and the idea of having to do work outside of class bothers a lot of people. And they say, why do you check your emails on weekends? And I go, because school happens not between the hours of 7 and 2. It happens 24 hours a day. And if you believe for a second that learning doesn't go on before or after, you're fooling yourself. So I'm not saying be glued to a computer just in case someone has a call, but if you have a free second while you're doing your lesson plans on Sunday to check your email and to answer an email from a parent, or check your email, you're giving a test the next day at 9 p.m. just in case your students have a question. All of that helps. And I'm not saying, and nowhere am I saying do all this extra work, but but maybe have a Twitter account so you can broadcast message or you can answer questions. No one's requiring you to do it. No one's asking you to do it, but think about how much more helpful you'll be is if all of a sudden you get a tweet from a student saying, hey, I forgot the homework last night, or I had a question about it, and you can choose to respond to it, you can choose not to respond to it, but now you know that it's there and you know that they're actively engaged with you. And yes, I understand the blurred line, but maybe we need to move away from 7 to 2 and say, here's where the instruction is. And here's students before or after. I'll avail myself when I can, and you may learn more from it.
Yeah, I mean that's when I give up my programming homework, I tell my kids, okay, work on this. Here's the challenge that I expect you guys to work on and think on overnight. If you have any problems, email me. And I like it when my students email me because it shows me that they're working on the problem, that they're thinking about it, and I can help them. I can point them in the right direction in terms of, okay, this part of your code looks good, but maybe focus in maybe on your conditional. Maybe it looks like the structure isn't right, and and depending on the student, either I'll give them the right answer, or maybe I'll leave it at like that, where I just sort of hint to them, okay, look at this particular section, and then allow them to try to troubleshoot it and figure it out. It's like no different than what you would do if they put up their hand in the classroom. Except the only time is now it's 5 o'clock in the evening, and I don't think that's, as a teacher, that's not too much of a stretch for me to be able to do.
I understand the always being on and having, okay, maybe you have a second job or whatever it is, but no one yet. And I think it's another topic to fight for the separation. I think separation is very, very good, but there's nothing wrong in saying, you know what, I can answer this. This is not. I'm doing something where I can take 30 seconds. I'm at my computer anyway, doing whatever I do at night. To answer this one question or to answer from my cell phone while waiting online for something, you know what? That student will be happier that you're helping them. And you know what? And here's maybe the better issue. They're not going to look elsewhere for the answer. And I'm not saying elsewhere like another student. I'm talking about looking to cheat or to find the answer somewhere else. I'm talking about they're figuring it out. Students, I mean, I have a Facebook page, and I've always had the lofty goal that students can ask questions and get answers. It hasn't turned into that yet, but maybe the medium is wrong for it. But that was the idea: students helping students in constructive ways, and not here's. And they have here's the thing. If you think for a second that they're not having non-constructive ways where they're posting answers to homeworks and everything else, you're fooling yourself. So if you can make yourself slightly more available, you'd be surprised how many more people will come to you first before looking for the answers. Yeah. So I don't have much more to talk about in our first episode. It was just, let's see what we can talk about. Let's see how it goes. It's a great time right now in education where I think we have a clean slate. I think that this technology has brought us together to say, what can we do? And I think that the more people that get on board, the better we can make education. And I mean, it costs a lot of money, but I think that it's an initial cost. I think as we go, we find all these great ideas that can lend themselves even to offline activities. We have, you said you had Socrative going on where they put the exit tickets. I mean, you need a device for that, but it's not too far of a stretch to, it's changing a perception where it was you come in, you work on this ditto, you turn it in, to here, now we have all this technology. We can store files online. We can share a whole document so you don't have to make 45 copies. Think of the time now that you have. Or find a way to grade something.
You mentioned that you've been using Moodle. I've actually been using Moodle for over 10 years now. That's when I got started into teaching. We have a sort of a, it's almost a master's. It's probably like 80% of a master's kind of thing here in BC. And I went back to school and I got a post-degree diploma. And one of my things is I studied on implementing using a course website. I mean, for me as an IT teacher, I have access to a computer to be able to do that. to set up a course website where I put all my content, all my handouts, all my units, resources out there. That's my equivalent of my teaching binder. But now with personal devices, it makes it much more easier and accessible for any teacher. It doesn't have to be an IT teacher to use these kind of resources. And I do see a lot more of my colleagues using things like Edmodo, where they put their class content on there, and then if a student is aware or whatever, they can look up what they missed on their own personal device, whether it's a laptop or a phone or whatever. We are definitely at this time where we have the opportunity to work with these tools.
Well, and I mean, another topic that needs to be brought up is, like you said, you're using Moodle, I'm using Moodle, my district approves Moodle. Teachers are then saying, you know what, I don't like Moodle, I want to use Edmodo. And then you have another teacher that says, you know what, I want to use Twitter exclusively. And that's where I start having an issue. I'm saying it slowly because I don't have an issue with a teacher using all these services, but I've always stood firm in how much work do you want to make a student go through to check their homework every night. If one teacher uses this and another teacher uses that and a third teacher uses the other thing, it's not a bad thing. It's just what's the expectation on the student. And yes, we can all say, you know what, that's in life, that's what's going to happen, this and that. But I think there needs to be some sort of, if you want to do it and not make it mandatory, that's fine. This is our official use, and go from there. Or I don't know yet. I don't know what policy will dictate as it comes along.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, I think we should end.
All right.
Okay. I want to say thank you, and I don't know the time, how long we're going to be doing this for. I think we're right now trying to say once a month and start because there is a time issue for us. Darren's on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast, but if we can get to once a month and then maybe every 2 weeks, we're going to try. But I hope you liked it, and we'll let you know when we come back. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.